sex. But my advice is you better ignore her needs. I advise that. But if you are actually thinking about doing more than having sex, then you better not. You better ignore her needs as far as I'm concerned. But if you want this to work, you better not ignore her needs. So understand what I'm telling you here. You should ignore her needs unless you've actually decided that you have had enough of being true to only you. Because that's what it's all about initially when you're doing the alpha thing, learning the alpha ways. It's all about you. It ain't about no women. But, things, you grow up, you mature. Things change. And I'm not encouraging this by no means. I'm just accepting that things change. Change for me. I'm married. I'm only dealing with one woman. I talk all the shit I talk, but I go to bed with the same woman every night. So I'm not telling you it's fucked up. I'm just telling you make sure you're ready to make that decision. Because hard decisions have to be made after you make that one decision. Otherwise, let me let you understand this. Because first, let me really say, I'm not saying that it's just automatically going to be bad. I want you to understand that this could actually be a good thing. Having this woman or doing what you think it could be a good thing for you. Or it could be the absolute worst thing you ever thought of, and you want to kick yourself in the ass every time you remember you did it. It's up to how you get into this, which is, we're going to talk about this right now because it's very important. See, this is why you must tread very carefully, and you have to understand that you don't want to make a commitment too quickly. You just got to understand this. Real men, you got to understand this. Real men are in a shortage. They're not plentiful. Women don't just go out and run into real men 10, 20 at a time. No, they don't. They go out 10, 20, 30 times and don't run into a real man. This is very important for you to know. So I just suggest, since real men are not plentiful, which makes women very hungry for a real man, I just suggest that you play the field. I suggest you play the field as long as you can play the field until, let's say, your desire is actually fulfilled. You could possibly be one of these dudes or the dude that, lucks up and meet the right woman, the first woman he gets, involved with. You could be that guy. I'm not saying you're not. You just got to understand the odds. So what I'm saying is if you're that guy and this first woman is, the woman, by all means, go for it. I am not telling you not to go for it. I'm telling you the opposite. Go for it. But what I'm also telling you is to know what you're looking to go for. You got to know this stuff. Just in case she may not be the one, you have to have things in place to assure yourself of making the decision that you know she's not the one. Because a lot of men, once they get involved, they actually look past what qualifies that woman to be the one. Because they're so wrapped up in the fact that they're dealing with this woman that they forget about what qualifies her. Don't get in that position. That's why you need to do everything I'm saying before you actually get involved. And we're going to really hammer this out because I really want you to understand what I'm saying here. You have to have had a long talk with yourself. And you better have established the pros and cons of having a woman. That's the first thing you need to do. Have a long talk with yourself and establish the pros and cons of having a woman. You got to do this stuff before you get a woman. You don't want to wait until you get her, then start thinking about this stuff. Because you're going to be messed up in the mind. And you won't be able to think rationally. You have to do this long before you get a woman. Because before you get her is when you're thinking clearly. Before you get her is when you have the clearest head. Before you get her is when you don't have this, that, and the other to interfere with what you will or will not accept from a woman. I'll say this to you now, and I'll be saying it to you in the future. Unless you're married, you should not get too emotionally involved in a relationship. That's where the girlfriend and all that stuff comes in. Getting emotionally involved. You should be in the frame of mind that this woman, potential partner, has to forcibly take your emotions from you. This is how you should be thinking. And what I mean is you got to hold your emotions very close to you. Because they are the one thing. Your emotions are the one thing that any woman, first grade education to a doggone PhD, any woman is smart enough to use against you. Your emotions are the one thing that any woman, no matter what level of education they've gone through, is smart enough to use against you. I firmly believe, I want you to believe what I firmly believe, and that's that the only woman who can actually get close to me emotion-wise is the woman that I know for a fact is not going to try to hurt me with what she gets learning my emotions. And I haven't met her. My mother, she's gone. I haven't met her. And that's how you should think. You haven't met her. And until you do, you're not giving your emotions away. Because if you let a woman deal with your emotions, you're giving her carte blanche to fuck over you. Girlfriends don't even qualify for this. Especially girlfriends who've only had a few months. You got to have a real relationship with a woman that knows you before you even consider any of the stuff that we're thinking about. The way to actually do this without seeming to be non-caring or distant is to you always acknowledge when something is bothering a woman, but you never try to investigate it to where you can understand it. You do not want to understand what is bothering a woman, and I really don't want her to understand what's bothering me. Only a woman can understand, empathize with what's going on with a woman, as only a man should be able to do with a man. And I really believe this, and I hope you learn to believe it. You should never want to understand something that is bothering a woman, and you don't want her to understand what's bothering you. We're different sexes, and I don't want to be on the same teal. I'm just don't want to be on the same teal. You can't understand me. You could understand to the extent you have sympathy. Understand it's hurting or whatever, but understanding how a man feels, no, I don't even want you to do that. Now, acknowledging something with this woman that you both have in common, such as an outlook or life goals as far as that go, that kind of stuff is fine. I'm not saying you can't have things that you in common with her. I'm not saying that. But to completely understand where a woman is coming from should only be feasible coming from another woman, as it should be with a man. Now, I said all this stuff and you really understand that I'm talking about stuff that's different than I've been talking about, and I'm really going deeper into what we're talking about because we kicking it. I'm being real with you, man. I'm going to go off my beaten path. And we going to have to talk about something that I think is very real. I'm not a Christian. I believe in God and spirituality, but to fully mature, you must develop your spirituality. And that's what I want to talk about, maturing. Right now, I want to take a few moments and I want to speak to you about your maturity. Now, like I said, I'm not asking you to seek God. I mean, unless you really want that in your life and you want it for you, that's fine. I'm not against it either. But the aspect of being mature that I speak on includes spirituality. Now, I'm going to limit the spirituality, to being necessary to progress as a confident man. I just can't, and I just don't want to address spirituality in any religious fashion because I'm not, qualified. In order to truly be qualified, to be a man that's qualified to search out and find a woman that he feel or you feel or will or can be worthy of your labors, you have to make sure that you are worth the sacrifices that she's going to have to make to become your woman and remain your woman. She's not just going to do it and not have to give up nothing. She's going to be giving up plenty. And you want to make sure that you're valued at that worth. The first thing that you're going to have to figure out as an alpha man is, have you developed your personal spirituality, or have you matured as a man sufficiently enough to be ready to lead a woman and possibly a family? This is the very first thing you need to think about when you're thinking about being serious with a woman. Because doggone it, you tell her to be serious, you be serious too. This is how you're serious. This is how you be serious. You aren't supposed to think about these things after, you get with her. You're supposed to think about this stuff now, before anything goes down. You need to think about this stuff. You also have to have matured enough to have a real job, a real man's job. And you have to be able to handle money correctly. Now, I know I didn't handle money correctly. I didn't have mentors. I didn't have anything but the ability to get money. And I did not handle it correctly. So let's just make sure you don't make the mistakes I made. That's where I'm coming from with money. And we'll get into that. If you're not ready to forsake the material things that you desire now, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you're not ready to forsake them. I'm not saying it's bad. But if you're not, I'm just saying being materialistic don't go with having a lasting mate. If you're not ready to give up your materialistic things, then you're not ready to have a lasting mate. Because the only thing materialistic is what's good for the two of you once you get a mate. So just make sure you don't get hung up in the idea of what the media portrays as the single man's great life. Now that's where I'm really trying to get you to understand. Once you're in a relationship, good or bad, it's going to weigh on your decision-making abilities. So you're clear-headed now. And now's the time you should make firm decisions. Especially on what you will and will not take from a woman. In order to really do, what I'm talking about, you should take inventory of yourself. And you got to understand what we've done. Let's rehash. So far, I've basically explained what this part of the course will consist of. Now, let's get into some of the deeper aspects of what I spoke about earlier. We're going to deal with, somewhat of a system. What we're doing in 2.0 is developing individual systems. So that's why I said somewhat of a system, because all of us are going to have our own. It's not one system for everybody. We're going to have our own customized. And it's going to have to do with how you think. That's what it's going to be based on, how you think. Now, I don't know if you know it, but your thinking has a direct effect on your persona. Did any of you know that? That the way you think has a direct reflection on how you emit your vibes. When you think things, in your mind you accept whether this thing is good or bad. And those thoughts, they're good or bad thoughts, make you react in a positive or a negative manner. You can't help it. You're human. The way you think about something is going to make you react one way, positive or negative, about that particular subject. Now, and the way you react to what you think has an indirect effect on how you speak to women. Otherwise, if you react to something in a really negative way, you're probably going to feel negative about speaking to the woman. See, like everything, there are many levels, so I can't make a blanket statement. There are many levels, just like there are many levels of this course. But on each level that this course brings you to, it's going to give you access to a different understanding of confidence. And what we've gone through so far, you should be somewhere between the 3rd and the 5th level. Somewhere. I'm not saying you are. You should be. Let me explain some things. The first level, which we both hope that you're no longer on, is the level when you don't know anything about women. At this level, you don't know much about socializing or how to act or even interact with women. You don't know much of anything at this level. You don't even know how to have a simple conversation with a woman. Remember that, you? Do you remember when you were in a state of mind that made you damn near an introvert? Can you remember when you didn't even like looking at yourself in the mirror? Yeah, and then you decided to do something about it. And you took that course. And now you see yourself in almost the exact opposite of what you've seen before. This is a result of you taking charge of what you do with your life. The second level is where a lot of you are now. It's not a bad place to be, but it's not very far from the first level. You've grown. You've made it to where you've spoken to a few women, and you interacted fairly well with them. I know the 1.0 is the bomb, so I know it. So what's the problem? Well, what's the problem? Let me tell you. The problem is you still have that nagging fear of rejection. You still have it. It's in the pit of your stomach, and you feel it ever so often. If you don't get control of it, you're going to start feeling you're not really much better off than the first level. And we don't want that. So let's get control of it. Let's get control of it right now. We're going to do that right now. This is because the reason you're feeling this way, the reason that you don't feel you have actually progressed past the first level, is that you're still in a reaction frame of mind. You're still in a reaction frame of mind. Levels 1 and 2 are both reactive levels. But on the second level, see, you have to make sure that you don't let everything happen before you do something, before you decide to do something or move on it. The first level, you can't help but wait. But the second level, you will wait, but you don't have to wait. And it's best that you don't wait. One of the best things to learn about these levels is living in a reactive state of mind, or being a reactive thinker, is babysitting a loser mentality. And you should want no parts of it. It's very important for you to make that decision. I can't make it for you. You have to make it based on what you know and feel about yourself. The good thing about the second level is you are becoming a seer instead of a looker. Now, don't get stuck on words. That's just the words I use to describe this part of what we're doing. You see, actually, I'm done with that spirituality stuff, so that wasn't very long. I could have told you this earlier, but I got to talking. But what I'm saying is, we're done with the spirituality, but it was very important because what we're talking about now involves accepting that you are mature. So you don't want to get stuck on words. You just want to understand that you want to give your full 100. So right now, the word seer and looker, what I meant, what I mean, when I say you're becoming seers instead of lookers, is that I want you to get to where you see things before they happen. I want you to know your mental arsenal so well that instead of waiting to use it on whoever, you'll start looking for how close you are to being correct in what you think. This is when you really have game. So you're still saying and thinking about what you're saying and you're still at that point. No, man, no. You want to get to the point where you're looking at her and your mental eye is showing you something totally different than what your actual eye is showing you. And we're going to talk about that. You'll find yourself being right way more often. And it's going to begin to make you be able to guess what women are thinking. Jesus Christ. I know you guys heard my show where I had that woman on and she was lying and she actually was cheating on her man and stuff. And she was telling me she not bust her for cheating with another woman. See, I did that because of what I'm telling you now. I was able to see through her and her lies by what I'm telling you now. She answered a couple of questions too vague for me. You understand what I'm saying? She already said she was cheating, so there's no reason to be vague unless you're hiding something else. And she was being vague. Like I said, she had admitted to cheating, so that wasn't it. What else could it be besides what I guessed? My deduction abilities, my ability to deduce things, is based on seeing the results that I want from my conversation. So the more I'm using my mental eye to see what's going on physically in front of me right now, see, the more I can deduce things, I can guess things. Because physically what's going on, she looking this way and sitting this way, but I'm seeing mentally that she really can't wait till I grab her and pull her toward me. I'm seeing this. So what am I going to do? Go for what I'm seeing as far as her being resistant? Or am I going to break her down by what my mental eye is showing? I'm going to take a chance on my mental eye. And I'm going to show you. Your mental eye is always right. Because your mental eye is thinking about you more than your actual eye is thinking about you. The more the results of my inquiry are what I expect, otherwise the more I'm, thinking this, that, and the other is going to happen, and this, that, and the other does happen, the farther I think I can go when it comes to making assumptions about this woman. If I got her following, going where I am leading her, I can make hella assumptions about her. Now, in order to get where I'm at right now, you have to start being willing to take hella chances. You don't want the safety of things happening okay. No, you want to take chances and make things happen the way that you want them to happen. You want to take chances. That's right. You're going to have to go against what you think. You're going to have to be willing to go against what you think. Right now, you're thinking more along the terms of safety first. But in reality, you're not going against what you think when you do what I'm saying. You're simply addressing something else that you think at the same time. Because every thought you have has an opposite thought. So when you're thinking this negative crap, you really have positive stuff that you're thinking if you will allow yourself to address it. We're learning this now. How many of you, when you want to do something, or when you want to approach a woman with this certain thought, and you're thinking about it, and then you think it won't work, and that thought of thinking it won't work makes you don't do nothing. How many of you experienced that? All of you, I know. See, the answer to that you're running from, the truth of the matter is, that's what's killing you. That's what's killing your attempt to be the man that you want to be. What I'm saying is the problem is you don't use your imagination for anything except to think of something bad. Something terrible is going to happen to you. If you think bad shit will happen, it'll feel like bad shit is happening. And, whether it does or not, you still feel it. The effects are there. So you're defeating yourself. Excuse me. If you are going to believe something, why don't you start believing in the good that is going to come to you from learning this 2.0? Why don't you start thinking about that? You're going to get out of that rut of being a loser, and you're going to put yourself in touch with a part of you that turns on and never turns off. Action is the name of the game that you want to play right about now. And you have to be proactive to play this game. You can't be a person that waits for things to happen if you want to be in the game of action. See, now we, just finished talking about ways to think, how to think to accomplish the things that we're trying to get. But there's more. There's more. The next part of this course is going to deal with how your persona is affected by what you think. In most cases, a person's thoughts becomes their actions, and most gurus do want your thoughts to be your next action. This is why you want to fully understand the power of your thoughts. You want to fully understand what they will promote you to do. Now, what we're talking about now affects what people will feel or what they're going to get from what you do or what you say or how you are when you're around them. It's your persona. It's something that's unspoken, but it's felt. Have you ever really wondered if you act as afraid of women as you sometimes think? See, when you put this in a proper perspective, you're going to see that knowing this information that we're sharing is next to phenomenal. I mean, it's that important. If you've ever wondered why you had such a hard time with women, you should stop wondering right now and take note of your demeanor or your persona. Your persona is either a turn on or a turn off. When you get in a conversation, your persona supersedes what you're saying. And as quiet as your persona is, it makes more noise than any words you can possibly come up with. The way you stand, your attitude, your confidence, and your persona are all interconnected. And if you don't realize and accept this, you're doomed. You're absolutely doomed. What a person thinks combined with what they see will result in either action or reaction. It's really that simple. And if you want to learn what I have for you to learn, you don't want to complicate this. You can overthink it if you want to, but you don't want to overthink this. You don't want to complicate this. in any venture, in any instance, in any conversation, it's preferable that you are proactive or move first. And here's where your persona comes in. What do you do after you think something based on what you're looking at? What do you do? See, my behavior is like a lion. In as much as I only need to think it and I'm moving on it, I'm just finna do it. I'm finna do it. I don't care. You know, the lion don't care if he catches that meal. He actually wants to catch that meal, but he don't care if he missed. He's still going after another one. He just missed. He don't care. It doesn't make him better or worse that he missed. See, what a person thinks will definitely make them do. So it's just really simple. When I look out in a crowd and I see a woman who interests me, I'm going to make my way over to her. Now, just like a lion, I'm not going to just walk over to her and kick up a bunch of dust and let her see me coming. I'm going to zigzag over, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, because I don't know, she might be looking at me. I don't want her to know I'm coming. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to do shit. I'm not just going to beeline to her, but I am beeline to her, but not to her. See, you don't really have to do any of what I just said. That's just how I work. That's what I do. That makes me comfortable. Figure out what makes you comfortable. I do what makes me comfortable. My point is, the moment I notice something of interest to me or, somebody that I like or think I could like, I'm on it like white on rice. I'm on it. I'm not finna talk myself out of it. That's the alpha dog in me that promotes my every action. That's what's going to start promoting your actions. Winning, wanting what you think. I'm an aggressive type guy because my thoughts always promote me to be aggressive. Especially with women. I don't mean aggressive, slap you, or none of that kind of crazy shit. I don't mean in any way am I referring to be abusive. I'm not referring to any of that. I mean aggressive in a go-get-it type of guy mentality. I'm going to get mine. That type of aggressive. You got to think about things like this. Let's say, because a lot of you guys have aggressive thoughts. Oh, man, I see that broad over there, man. I want to. A lot of you guys have those thoughts. But see, you don't have the actions to back it up. You have aggressive thoughts, but passive actions. Now, tell the truth. How many of you seen a woman and you thought about what you would do to her if you could? I mean, that's an aggressive thought. And it deserves to be moved on right away. It don't deserve to be watered down so you can fit whatever the heck you're trying to make it fit. But how many of you had that thought and did nothing? See, you didn't even go over to speak to this woman that made you have this powerful sexual thought. See, this is passive actions. Aggressive thoughts, passive actions. Can't you see the confusion? Can't you see the problems that thinking both these thoughts at the same time will cause or can cause? Thinking this way can have a disastrous effect, and you just don't want to know what it's going to do to your mentality. You just don't want to know. Check this out. Do you think this does not affect how you stand? Passive aggressive. Do you think do you think it don't affect how you appear as far as overall your persona? Well, it does. And you tend to stand withdrawn and indecisive and all that kind of stuff when you think passively. You didn't know that, did you? Aggressive to make you stand forward, make you really peer out into the audience. Passiveness just make you stand there because you can stand up. And you're not really making nothing known about you. You got to understand. You got to learn to think, then act. That's a big thing that we're going to get out of this part of the course. Think, then act. You didn't take that long to think of what you would do with her if you could. So don't take that long to act. What I'm saying is when you think, man, if I could get over there to her, get over there to her. Quit playing. Write down what happens. Pull your little notebook out, write it down. Think, act. That's the way you want it. Think, act. Think, act. You want it that way. Your behavior with women is also affected by thinking passively, and they can tell when you're being this way. They can tell. Once they notice it, they can't wait to get away from you. Because they can just see that you're in some type of comfort zone, and it's not allowing you to actually come out and be yourself. So they're not really getting to see who you are. So they're not really excited about interacting with you. Because to them, you're faking. Women think like this. And they will make that determination without asking you shit. That's why you got to be up on what you're presenting, or your persona, what it is presenting. You're no fun to be with because you're hiding. They can tell. Now, in your quest to become alpha, you have to leave your comfort zone. You got to understand that the world is your comfort zone. The world is your comfort zone. You have to make this take effect in your mind. You have to socialize in many, many, many different ways. You don't want to socialize in the same way. Learn different ways to socialize, meaning going to different places, different options as far as what you're going to do. Because you want to get to the point where you don't have, or you don't really need a comfort zone. And you can't get to that point if you're always going to the same place, the same club, at the same time, doing the same things, having the same drinks. No, come on, you got to do something different. You got to make yourself want something different. You got to make yourself expect something different and enjoy something different. That's going to get you into a different frame of mind set. Now, I'm sure that you want to know how to achieve these things that I'm talking about. And it's really fairly easy. When you're at the lower levels, your comfort zone is what's controlling your every move. And you're okay with this because you don't have any mental control over what you're thinking anyway, so you need something to control you. Having a comfort zone makes you like a puppet. And the zone, your comfort zone, is actually controlling your strings. It's a little difficult to understand, especially at first. But until you have actually gained the confidence to be able to think something and then see where you can get it and then act as if you want it, you won't get it. See, it's hard to understand because until you can actually be this way and really think this way and really want what your thoughts are, you'll never get your thoughts. You have to really want what your thoughts are. The bad part is you've allowed yourself to become most comfortable on the sidelines at this point. But since we know that, we're going to address that by getting off the sidelines. You think something and you'd rather sit and do nothing about it. We're going to pass that up because we're finna learn what to do. Proactivity is what's going on with us. Your comfort zone is doing nothing. Just looking, standing on the side, not even really playing the game. Just looking, observing. relieving that zone. That's the discomfort zone from now on. See, just as you see something and do the same thing as when you think something, which is nothing. You see something, you do nothing. You think something, you do nothing. Alpha dogs see something, they doing something. Think something, they doing something. They're not going to sit there. You're not going to sit there. You're going to be hating when you see yourself doing that. Especially now, because we've discussed it. We're discussing it, and we're going to go into why it makes you a sucker. Do you want to be a sucker? I don't think so. Listen. When you think something and move on it, it makes you very confident. You want it to become a part of your behavior, just as hiding has become a part of your behavior. So we don't want to hide from things. We want to address things. We want a new behavior, and it calls for you consciously promoting what is positive. You have the tools. You have the tools to fight it. And you do that by making sure everyone can see the real you. You fight what I've been talking about, what we've been discussing, by making sure everyone can see the real you. You're not hiding in a comfort zone. Leave that comfort zone and be you. Just leave it and be you. If you continue to hide, it makes you act in unattractive ways. You know, one of those ways is it make you stutter. It makes you stammer, and when you're talking, oh, that's, come on, that's negative. It also makes you use those uhs, and if you're speaking to a woman, your voice has little or no authority in it. Little or no authority. That's because you're hiding. You can't talk authoritative if you're hiding. Come out. Come out of your zone and be you. Even if you don't know who that is, find out, discover who it is. So what, you run through 10 women discovering it? It's like 1 million women out there. You only ran through 10. Come on. Don't be worried. Do it. See, these are the things that actually tell a woman right away that she can handle you when you're unassertive. Your mistake is you let her get the upper hand. Right away. Right away in a relationship, in a conversation, in anything. You let her get the upper hand right away. Really on her first try. She don't even have to try hard. Her first try she get it. See this? She sees this. And it goes right along with your persona. So you accept it. No, man. Change this. Acceptance has to be forced on you. You don't give it. You don't accept anything coming from a woman until she has made you see she's worthy of your accepting various things from her. But until she's proved it, why would you accept it? It doesn't compute when you think about what's right. It's not right for you to accept these things from women simply because they're giving it to you to accept. You have to really start thinking like this. You have to see that, these things tell a woman all about you, and you don't want her to know about you through your actions. You want her, you do want her to see your actions when you're confident like that, but when you're not confident, you don't want her to know you through your actions because you're making very unconfident moves. So that's when your words has to be stronger than your actual emotions, and then you have to make your words and your emotions start matching. And once you do that, once you put yourself on Front Street, once you make yourself have to stand up and you stand up, it'll get easier. The more you run from standing up, and the more when you say something that puts you on Front Street to stand up and you don't stand up, the harder it's going to be. It's just going to be hard. You're making it hard. We don't want our insecurities or our anxieties growing stronger. We don't want that because it's going to diminish the impact of your conversation. That's why you're going to use this information. You're going to get this information and use it out of the desire to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to take this information and you're going to allow it to help you leave that comfort zone. You don't want a woman to get in her head that she has to control the relationship. Because when you're in a comfort zone, you don't really leave out, and sometimes you have to be assertive, but you're in this comfort zone. You can't be assertive. Women will take that as a signal that they have to wear the pants, and from that point on, you'll be wrestling with her about who's boss. So you never want to let things happen. You want to make things happen. Everything is about what you do, how you think. If she feels that she has to wear the pants, I mean, she's going to feel that if you let her see that you're not taking control of the relationship, of a situation. You just have to take control as a man. Initially, she's going to like you. But if you don't step up, any woman is going to stay with, But if you don't step up, any woman is going to stay with you. But she's simply waiting for something better to come along. Or she's just happy spending your money. The way that we putting these components together, your confidence, your selfishness, and your conceit, they're going to become your mental eye. I mentioned mental eye earlier. I want to go into that. Your mental eye. See, we see what's in front of us. We see. But our mind is sketching a picture for us to deal with. I'm telling you, this is how I think, this is how I act, this is how I react, and this is how I move. What I see, of course I see it, but it has nothing to do with what my mind is drawing as far as what I want as a result. I deal with my mental eye, and that's what I want you to start dealing with. Your mental eye is really about you, way more than the physical eye is. Your mental eye is making what you think or what you want happen. It's drawing a picture for you. So if you pay attention to it and go for what you're being led to via the pictures, you're going to get that. You're going to get that. See, I see what's in front of me, but my mind is sketching a picture for me to deal with at the same time, but I'm dealing with both of these simultaneously. You have to learn to pay attention to the picture that your mental mind is drawing, though, because the things that you think make up the portrait that you really want to see. The things that you're thinking in your mind, the things that you want to happen, is what your mental eye is going to really draw a picture of based on what you're seeing. And it's going to be easier for you to deal with what this mental eye is preparing for you versus what you see sometimes. A lot of times, almost all the time. That's what your mental eye does for you. Your mental eye gives you the assertiveness to go after what you want. It gives you more concentration. It gives you hella energy. It gives you all of this, all the while it's helping you gain control of your doubt. Your mental eye is doing a lot of things for you while it's working, and you have to recognize them. It's not difficult. It's really simple. The mental eye is what gives you that drive to reach the highest level possible. Developing your mental eye will help you increase your toughness, and your proficiency will be better. You'll be more proficient. You won't waste as much time. Your mental eye will be like a gatekeeper of this system that we've been putting together. And it's going to keep you on your ABPs, make you always proactive. And you have to be this way in order to be ahead of the women that you're dealing with. That mental eye develops when you break the chains of what most men think. when it comes to having a woman. You know, their looks, their physical appearance, you know, none of those things that they actually use to woo you will be able to woo you anymore. You know, a physical, all of that stuff is to a degree important, but none of it's really important. It's all about you and what you get from whoever it is. I mean, a big fat girl can, if she does exactly what the little skinny girl don't do, but what the fat girl is doing is what you want, and the skinny girl is not doing what you want, who are you going to choose? Come on. Pretty is what pretty does. See, none of that stuff is important, is what I'm really getting you to understand. I want you to understand. You're going to be looking at women, instead of trying to see if they're tens or dimes or whatever you guys want to call them, you're going to be looking at them to see the things that she does that sparks your thoughts. This is how you're going to start thinking. If she don't spark your thoughts to think in a certain way, you're not even excited about her, regardless of how pretty she is. This is because you're thinking more about yourself. Thinking about more about what you want. You're thinking more about what time it is for real, which is where we need to be, which is where we're trying to go. You perking, baby, when this happened. When you thinking like this, you really perking. For real. You really are. You're going to realize that your comfort zone is really wherever you are. You don't need a damn zone. You're going to realize that. Limiting yourself to a comfort zone is like really hurting you. Hurting you more than you could ever imagine. Because it's making you have to settle in a particular mindset. You don't want it. You want to be free to think however you want to think. You don't want any type of restriction. You want the freedom that the mental eye gives you. Now, instead of speaking to 100 women, I know I say that weekly, speak to 100 women. Since we're advancing, we're going to reduce that a little bit. Not that we're lessening your workload. We're just reducing that number because you still have hella workload. We're going to go over that right now. Instead of speaking to 100 women a week, you're now going to, break it down to maybe 5 or 10 women a day. But all you're looking for is a quick response from your initial statement. You purposely are not going into conversation any long with anyway. But now, if you just have to, get a conversation, don't run from it. You got to, kick it. And once you really go past that first statement that you made, you got to go with at least 2 or 3 more statements. And you want to make sure you understand what's going on. Write all this down in your notebook because we're going to talk about all this. But you need to get this done. Get everything done. Everything I'm saying. Whatever the conversation is, not word for word. The gist of it is good enough. But I want you to understand this is no slight type exercise. You have to detail your shit. You know what I'm saying? Whatever her response is, use it in... when you're actually at a woman and you are realizing these things that we're talking about and you're just looking for a quick response, whatever her response is, you're gonna use it. See, also when you're doing these 5 to 10 women a day, you're gonna start using your mental eye, and you're gonna use it to see what you should say and what you think she's going to say in response. Now, you use your mental eye for this. It does not have to be right. You're just teaching it how to see. So what you saw wrong? You'll teach it how to see right. You just got to teach it how to see. Right now, you're not even looking. So at least learn to look, right? So you want to write down how close your mental eye is to what actually happens. And, you want to write this down so that you can get a gauge on where you're at, what you need to really be looking for, where you need to adjust yourself. And when you finish saying whatever to her, making sure that you use, you made a statement, you really wasn't looking for any response, but she didn't say something that made you have to say something in response. make sure you use something from what she said to respond. Just do it. Just do what I'm saying. And write it down. You got to do this before you play your doggone hand or hand her your card. Because that's what you really are trying to do. You got to, diffuse everything that's going on so that when you hand her your card, she's actually accepting it. Because she wants to accept it. Not because you pressed it on her or tricked her or manipulated her to take it. No. Even though you are doing that, that's not why she accepted it. See, keeping the situation in play, I say when she responds to you, you want to keep the situation in play. That means that, let's say she said, no, I don't want to do this because I'm going to get some coffee. Keeping it in play means that whatever you say to her, you're going to have something. It's going to have something to do with her getting coffee or whatever she said. Something about what she said. Even though you may be accepting her not coming with you or whatever, you still want to use something she said which makes her comfortable accepting the card. And it also makes her think about actually using it, calling you, because of how you let her leave. It makes hella sense after you do it 2 or 3 times and you see it works. Of course, thinking about it in theory, you can see a lot of ways it don't work. But I don't deal with theory. I deal with reality. I go do it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't. But it does. That's the cold part about it. See, after you say whatever to her and you tell her, you give her your card and you give her that little light invitation to 31 flavors or Pete's Coffee or whatever, you diffusing so many things that she's thinking about. What kind of dude you are. She don't know. She can't guess because you're not asking her for no dinner or any of this kind of stuff. You're making her have to deal with you on a personal level. Man, you just got to understand how strong what I'm saying is. See, the conversation in the first part of this course that I had with that woman it's a good example of using a quip to leave. Something she said about her being in a hurry or whatever, and I used it to leave my card with her. Revisit that and check it out. That's a good example. See, all of the faking that you've done in the past actually stems from the discomfort you unknowingly got from being in your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is responsible for all of the lies that you believed about yourself. So it should be a simple decision for you to rid yourself of this comfort zone, but it's not. You can speak to that woman. You can get her attention. No matter what. You can do it. No matter where you are, you should speak. No matter how many times they say whatever negative, you should speak to every woman you see. Even though you speak, you don't have to really get into no conversation. But if you do, she's, say something and makes you want to talk, you got to drop at least 2 or 3 sentences, and you got to know try to use your mental eye to figure out where she's going. See where the conversation is going. Don't wrap yourself up in the conversation just in case it doesn't go wherever and you're going to be tripping. No, just see if you can, predict where it's going and leave. It's that simple. It's really that simple. You don't have to catch every time you talk. You just have to get something from every time you talk. And if you know what you're talking for, you're going to get it out of the conversation. It's really that simple. You don't overanalyze any of what I'm saying. Simply, it's a lesson in making your conversation and approach concise. After you get past the first 2 levels and you see yourself, moving along, and you get past these levels, these first two levels where you're mostly reacting, you're going to welcome the level that you're at, the third level. You're going to welcome it. You're going to see yourself moving on your thoughts. And you're going to see yourself making your thoughts work for you. This course is going to help you see that once you systemize anything you think and you stick to the program, it's not that damn hard to do. It really isn't. When you obliterate the comfort zone, you're going to get out and you're going to speak to a lot of women, because there is no reason not to speak to them, because you don't need to feel comfortable. In the overall scheme of manhood and confidence, we've only kicked a few grains of sand. You're going to feel like you've been released from jail from doing years once you start actually using what we're doing and talking about. We are not afraid of how much work it's going to take from this point, because it is going to take work. We are just happy to know, as we find things out, we are genuinely able to deal with them. That's really key. Being able to confidently deal with situations. Slowly you're going to notice how you even use your approach to catch women. You're going to notice so much about how you walk towards a woman that you're going to adjust it here and there, and those adjustments are going to catch. They are going to catch, man. Once your confidence flows and you're proactive in your moves, women is going to recognize and notice you as you approach them. You're going to find that women are actually happy to entertain your conversation. They're going to be happy to talk to you. Just remember that women will run all kinds of phony excuses to you in order to not speak to you. But you also have to remember, just about any excuse she gives you is only to see how you're going to handle it or twist it to work for you. I told you got to flip shit. Just about everything is to see how your flipping skills are. That's what gets them attracted initially in the beginning of the conversation. So don't show, that you care about any of the excuses that she gives you, and you got to be fully prepared to say something back when she gives you an excuse. You got to get used to letting women know that you're not worried about what she says. And you do that by always having a sharp quip to respond to anything they say to you. Now, fellas, we have concluded this second part of the course. I was going to say we've embraced a lot of things, but we've actually concluded this second part of the course. And now that you have, I want you to do yourself a favor and take a weekend or sometime in the future and watch all 6 parts of this course. Even though there are 2 parts to the first part of 2.0, I say course, 1.0 and 2.0, but it's really all just one big family of information for you to absorb and learn about confidence. And we do have degrees of how we are learning what we're learning. But the important thing, no matter how many parts, 15 parts, 20 parts, it's really one thing. And that's male confidence in the alpha dog form.